If you think about the way Hollywood rolls out a movie, or Apple rolls out a new iPhone, or the gaming industry rolls out the latest game, they don't just drop it onto the market, they turn their marketing into an event. So this thing that I teach, which we call the product launch formula, you can forget that word product is in there, but it can also work for services just as well. And it's worked for online and offline. So the whole idea is turn your marketing into an event. And there's three main tools I use for that. And they are stories, sequences, and triggers. And I'll walk through those for you. So like, how do you if Apple or Hollywood, they release a trailer a year in advance, and then 6 months in advance, and then a month in advance, and then they send their actors out on all the talk shows, and all of a sudden, everyone's talking about that movie before it came out. We're taking that power of the pre-launch, of the buzz campaign, and we're taking that power and we're bringing it into like our kinds of businesses. Most of the people I work with, they might be micro businesses, or they might have small teams. They might have 20 or 30 or 40 people on their teams, but generally it's taking that power that Apple and Hollywood has and it's bringing it into our kinds of businesses. So there's a metaphor we use called the sideways sales letter. And in the sideways sales letter, we'll release pre-launch content. And typically there's 3 pieces of pre-launch content. And you'll release these in a sequence. This is the sequence. This is the first sequence that you'll use. You'll release these, and generally these days, they're done either as videos or as live streams. Now, I've been doing this so long that when I started out, the only real tool we had was email. So we just did this all via email. And then eventually we got the capability to use audio online. And we used audio online. Then we used blogs. Then we started to use really ugly video. Then we started to use fancier video. And then we started to do live streams. But these are 3 pieces of content that you'll typically release over a 7 to 10 day period. And they will tell the story of your upcoming offer. So this is the pre-launch sequence, and then this is what we call the open cart, OC for open cart. This is when you actually open up and you start taking orders. This is when you start selling your product. So this is the equivalent of Apple releasing all those rumors and inviting people to media events, or Hollywood releasing trailers. This is your equivalent in your business. So these 3 pieces of pre-launch content have very specific jobs to do. The first one is what we call opportunity. And no matter what you're selling the opportunity for someone's life to be better. You're either giving them pleasure or you're taking away pain. No matter what you're doing, whether you're selling private jets or pizzas, you're either giving more pleasure or taking away pain. So they have an opportunity for their life to change, even if it's in a small way. They have an opportunity for themselves to have a better life, to be able to step up onto that golf tee and hit their drive an extra 10 yards further than they have in the past, for them to be able to get their tennis serve in, for them to be able to have a great meditation practice, for them to be able to speak a foreign language. And this first piece of content, and I'm just going to assume we're doing video these days. It could be live video, it could be a live broadcast. Most people do video these days. And your first video is going to be about the opportunity of how their life can change. I'm teaching people how to launch a product or a service, but really I'm teaching them how to have an online business, or an online business that has grown quite a bit. So the opportunity is for them to have an online business, but really it's about them having the freedom that an online business gives them. It's them having the income, the lifestyle, the impact. And so really this first piece is all about showing what their life can become. The second piece is what we call the transformation. And in this piece, you're really showing what that transformation will look like in their life. This is often done with case studies or examples. love to use case studies. So here it's like that conceptually their life could be better. They could have that great tennis swing. They could have that great soulmate. They could have that incredible meditation practice. This is what their life will actually, this is where you show them how that transformation will actually show up in their life. This third one is ownership. And in ownership, it's like here it's conceptual, but here they actually start to take ownership of the change for themselves. So whenever you're selling something, especially high-end, most of the products my students are selling are higher end products. I sell $2,000 online training. I sell a $12,000 coaching program. I sell a $35,000 mastermind. So they're significant investments. And a lot of times people will look at that and say, that's really awesome that people can have that change in their lives. And oh wow, I can see how their life truly would be transformed if I had an online business. But it's all conceptual. And this one is about having them actually take ownership for themselves. You know, it's one thing for people to say, yeah, someone else's life can be changed, or maybe my life can be changed, but for them to really embody it, to step into that idea of owning that change in themselves, that's a whole different thing. And then once you get to open cart, it's all about truly enrolling them in that change. So this sequence, I've been teaching it for 15 years. It works. It's a very, very effective model. What really makes it powerful is I mentioned sequences, stories, and triggers. These are the two primary sequences that you'll use. 7 to 10 days for the pre-launch, and then this is usually 4 to 7 days for the open cart where you're actually taking orders. So, there's also these things we call the mental triggers. And mental triggers are these factors that impact how we make decisions. So I'm just going to go through 3 really important ones for you here. So for triggers, the first one is authority. When we perceive someone is in a position of authority, then we pay more attention to them. And when you're going through here, this is all about building value. It's not just about showing the opportunity, transformation, ownership. You're actually teaching and giving real value throughout here. So if you're teaching, maybe you're teaching guitar, you could be teaching, you'll be doing real actual teaching throughout each one of these pieces, and hopefully creating some real change in their lives even before you ask for the sale. And when you can do that, it establishes your authority. You know, I'll do this. I recently did this exact same sequence to sell my product launch formula, and I did it as 3 live broadcasts, each between 3 and 4 hours long. So I was given 9, 10, 12 hours of content here. I established enormous authority because I could just sit here and teach hour after hour without even asking for any money. That was massive, massive authority. Another trigger here is reciprocity. When you give something to someone, they feel like they want to give back to you. And by giving true value as you go through here, you're building up huge reciprocity. Another one is called social proof. And social proof is this idea, if we see a lot of other people doing something, then we'll do it as well. Or we'll take that will create enormous influence for us. So for instance, Amazon reviews. You go to Amazon and there's 4,000, you're looking at one product and it's got like 12 reviews and another one's got 4,000 reviews. You're going to think there's something going on with the 4,000 reviews, and that's probably going to be the one you check out first. And the same thing works with social proof. Well, all the way through here, you're creating a little community, which by the way is another trigger. And you're asking people to comment, especially like a lot of times in the live streams, there could be a chat role. If it's just a video, down below each video, there'll be a section for comments. And in those comments and in the interaction, they can see that others are paying attention, and that creates social proof. Now, another really powerful trigger, closely related to social proof, is scarcity. And when there is a limited amount of something, we tend to want it more as humans. This goes back to the days when we were living in caves and there was like one thigh bone left. We made sure we got really interested in eating that one thigh bone before we had to go kill another mastodon. So scarcity comes into play here in the open cart. This whole pre-launch leads into mailing for open cart. You get into the open cart period, and there's a whole sequence here as well. But as you get down to the end of the open cart, this is, we're going to get really technical here. You have to make sure that there is a definitive end to your launch. By that, I mean they have to act by the end of the launch or some negative consequence takes place. And that's either bonuses go away, in other words, the offer changes, the offer is no longer quite as attractive, bonuses go away, or the price goes up, or the offer comes off the market. And when you do that, what happens typically, we'll go to green for sales. For your sales will typically, if this is a chart of your sales on day one will be pretty high because you'll get all the emotional people that are very excited about it. And then that will drop off midweek, and then it'll spike through the roof on the last day. Often 50% of your sales come on the last day because of that scarcity trigger. But you absolutely have to have some negative consequence if people don't buy. Now, as you're going through here, you're going to be sending emails. I'm a big fan of email. This entire thing can be supported by social, but I love using email. So you're going to be emailing to each one of these pieces of content. You're also going to be mailing if it's a 10-day pre-launch. And then once you get into open cart, let's make it a 5-day open cart. So here's day 1, day 2, day 3, 4, 5. But you're going to mail twice here. You're going to mail once here, twice here. And on the last day, you're going to mail 3 times. And you're going to be posting to social all the way through. And if you're using paid traffic, which works really, really well, both warm and cold paid traffic work really well, you're going to be hitting all these trigger points. What this allows you to do, we call this the sideways sales letter. It's like the idea of you take a long form sales letter, if you've seen one of those, and you turn it on its side. This gives you many opportunities to mail, many opportunities to touch your people. So, and it's not like the same old buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. It's more, you have real reasons to reach out. Hey, this is an amazing video. Oh, did you miss this such and such a thing in that video? Go check it out. Oh, here's another great video for you. It's the second in our series of 4 videos. Oh, did you see that really, really cool thing in that video too? Oh, I've got a great new video for you. And then here, hey, you know what? The 4th video is coming, and I'm going to open up our program, and you're going to be able to enroll. And then, hey, it's open, and oh boy, it's flying off the shelf. And oh, look at these case studies. And oh, frequently asked questions. And hey, it's going to close down tomorrow. You need to get it today. And oh, I added in a bonus live cast. And here, it's closing tonight. And let me tell you a story about one of the people that has success with it. And then, hey, you've only got a few hours left. Now is the time to act. That is a super quick pass through the sideways sales letter. So like, exactly, that is exactly it. You had this long sales letter, which could have been 4 pages or 8 pages or 50 pages long. And those actually started way before the internet. They were hard copy. People would send those hard copy out. And back then it cost money to add more pages. And then when that long form sales letter shifted to the internet, then all of a sudden it became 50 pages long because copywriters could just make them as long as they wanted. It didn't cost any extra money to make your sales letter 50 pages instead of 24 pages. So that worked initially in those late 90s, early 2000s, but they started to burn out, and that's when I came up with this concept of the sideways sales letter. And one of the big differences is that long form sales letter, that what they did was they had, this is the letter, and it'd have a headline up here, and then it'd have a subhead, and then it'd have a bunch of copy, and then maybe a subhead, a bunch of copy. And down here, it'd have the price. And they followed this formula called problem, agitate, solve. So you would define what the problem is. You've been trying to fall asleep, but you don't know how, you're not doing a good job falling asleep. Then you agitate it, you make them feel really bad. You know that when you don't get a good night's sleep, then you raise your risk of a heart attack, and you snap at your family, and you get less work done. You just really rub it and make them feel bad, and then you give them the solution. The solution is to buy your product. And that worked really, really well. But then when that went online, what people would do is this page would load and this much would load, and then they would grab that little scroll bar and then they would scroll down and see what the price was, and then they would decide if they wanted to buy from you. So it worked, and it still works, and I still use them on occasion, but it didn't work as well as that sideways sales letter. And the other thing is markets became more savvy. They're so much more savvy than they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So now, instead of problem, agitate, solve, I have this thing I call the PS path, which is the problem solution path. So in this first video, you would define a problem. And you would not just define it, but you would actually give the solution, flat out give it. So in mine, and I'm just going to use mine because we're compressed on time and I'm more familiar with mine. But the first thing is you want an online business, you need to launch. So let me show you how to launch. And then I'll actually teach the sideways sales letter. And because I have more time in my live broadcast, I'll even go deeper than I'm going with you guys here. So I'll go full out deep and say, if you want to have an online business and all the freedom, the time, the money, the lifestyle, the impact that would give you, you need to launch. You can't just put out a product and hope it sells. You can't just put up a website and hope people find you. You need to launch. Let me show you how to launch. So I teach the sideways sales letter. Boom. And like I said, and for 3 hours I'll teach it. And I give that solution. But you know, the thing is every solution has inherent in it the seeds of the next problem. So at the end of this video, I'll say, okay, so I told you need to launch. I just showed you the formula. This formula has been used to do $1 billion in launches. But the thing is, there's actually 3 types of launches. And in my next lesson, I'm going to actually show you the 3 primary types of launches. So what did I do? I just defined the next problem and left a little cliffhanger. So then we come back into here and I reiterate what that problem is. Okay, well, there's 3 types of launches and let me walk you through them. And then I actually teach all 3 launches. You know, again, at a 50,000 foot level, can't be super granular, but I teach the 3 types of launches that are most popular, and I let the viewer find which one works for them the best. Then, because every solution has the seeds of the next problem, I define what the next problem is. So it's okay, in the next one, I'm actually going to walk you through the nitty-gritty step by step. And so then what do? We come in here, I redefine that problem, and I solve it, and then I give the next problem, which is, okay, I've given this all to you, but if you're ready to be walked hand by hand through this, then you really need to check out my next training, because that's where I'm going to share with you how you can get coached all the way through this process. And that final solution is also where you make the sale. So instead of like the old style problem, agitate, solve, this is what we call the PS path, the problem solution path. And it's a way to give real value. Like every year I have people just go through my free pre-launch, my free, what I call my masterclass. Don't pay me anything, and they still do great launches. Okay, there you go, the super compressed version of the product launch formula. If you want the full thing, the launch masterclass, put your email address in, and the next time we do a launch masterclass, we'll send you an email and we'll get you all hooked up. Well, that's it. I'm Jeff Walker, and let's go get it this week.